Hi there, Professor Mohan here. Those of you who have been watching my videos on current affairs might be wondering, why is he calling himself Professor Mohan? A, because I am a professor, and B, because this is nothing about current affairs, especially nothing about politics. It's going to be an educational video, which is why I want to label them as from Professor Mohan. So what I'm going to talk in this video is about CPU versus GPU versus TPU. By the way, you might have heard recently that Google has recently made a breakthrough in a new chip of their own, which competes with Nvidia's AI chip. That Google chip is called TPU, Tensor Processing Unit. And it was so groundbreaking that the entire stock market had some readjustment in the pricing. Google stock went up a lot, Nvidia stock went down a lot, and a whole bunch of AI related stocks went up and down because it's such a groundbreaking phenomenon, the TPU. What is CPU, GPU, and TPU? What you're seeing on the screen is the system information for my computer. It has a processor. That processor has 4 cores. The highlighted part, if you see, 4 cores and 8 logical processors. And that laptop is something like this. Other resources here. What is the physical memory here? 16 gigabytes of physical memory. And then the hard drive's capacity somewhere down there. So the CPU itself can utilize all these processors, but it has to set aside something for other programs you are running. So for instance, this particular video I'm recording using a web interface for a streaming software, which runs on the browser. So the browser has to be in this. So the browser itself, which is Google Chrome I use, should be able to use these resources, the CPU, the logical processors, and then the memory, etc. But if you are into scientific computing or artificial intelligence computing, these are very, very important resources for you. Artificial intelligence, one of the key elements of artificial intelligence is a mechanism called machine learning. It is very pivotal to that. Machine learning builds on parallel processing. So on a machine like this, you won't be able to do very high power computing. So the universities like ours have built supercomputers based on CPUs as well as GPUs. What is GPU? You still have this kind of option. If you buy a computer, you will have a graphics card, either Intel-based graphics card or something like an AMD graphics card or Nvidia-based graphics card. The graphics cards are specifically designed to make your graphics on the computer look more pleasing and more high resolution, etc. So they contain what is called a GPU-based chip in them, these graphics cards. And it turns out the GPUs are more efficient in doing certain computations. So we were able to build supercomputers together, either completely based on CPUs, like the ones I just showed you, or completely based on GPUs. And now enter the new kid on the block, TPU. Actually, Google put out a video trying to explain this in simpler terms than what I was explaining it.
What exactly is the difference between a CPU, GPU, and TPU? I'm going to explain it to you in simple terms with a real-world example so you never forget it, whether in a meeting, interview, or talking to friends. Let's start with CPU. A CPU, like the one you have in your laptop or phone, is a versatile processor with a few powerful cores. It's really great for handling different kinds of tasks such as browsing the web, running apps, or editing documents. And while CPUs do support some parallelism, like multiple cores and vector instructions, they mostly focus on versatility over scale. For AI training, which demands billions of heavy matrix operations, that's just not enough power. This is where GPUs come in, like the one in your gaming PC or PlayStation. It's built for a different kind of job. Originally, it was designed for graphics rendering, handling thousands of pixels and textures all at once. GPUs are masters of parallelism. With thousands of smaller cores, they process massive numbers of calculations at the same time, which makes them perfect for AI training. Then there's TPU, Tensor Processing Unit, and these maybe are lesser known to some people. These were engineered by Google specifically for AI workloads. Unlike GPUs, which are general purpose accelerators, TPUs are laser focused. They use specialized designs like systolic arrays, which move data through the chip like an assembly line, rapidly multiplying and processing tensors for AI tasks. Now, of course, you'll find TPUs inside Google's data centers, powering services like Google Translate and training massive AI models like Gemini. Save this so you never forget the difference.
I just want to give you a feel for a supercomputer without the interface of Windows or Mac operating system. Actually, you access them through some kind of a operating system like Windows. One of the problems I see about grasping all these complicated terms, seemingly complicated terms, they're actually not that complicated, is that our thinking is narrowed in the sense that we are able to think in terms of mouse movements, as well as some operating system based access to these computers, right? Like you have Windows, you access the computer through Windows, and then you do a bunch of mouse clicks or some commands if you are into that. But the supercomputer is built differently. It doesn't have a Windows operating system or some other operating system in there. You have to access them individually, access these resources individually through an interactive session and the commands, or through batch processing mechanisms. This is one of the gateways into the supercomputer at my university. We have here a CPU-based job. So this is a CPU-based supercomputer system. And if I want to submit a job, let's say a machine learning job, they allow maximum of 5 days on that one. So I can use these computing resources continuously for 5 days. Some of these tasks take that long, especially when you're doing research. And then GPU based, there's a limit of 3 days. You can submit them as batch, meaning like you submit them and forget about it. You'll get a message when the job is done. You make a special request that's only 24 hours. And then in interactive mode, there is much lesser time limit. Here is an example of my batch processing that uses a whole bunch of CPUs. It's actually a Python code on network optimization, which is using parallel computing resources. So this, if you see here, this is, I mean, basically it is running Python code and it is running on a CPU-based supercomputer. Here is a similar job that is using GPUs, which are much faster. Just not to get into the details of, basically my research is, can I split these tasks into parallel computing? And B, if some of my tweaking helps make the processes better, and how so, and by how much? Here, I'm actually asking for a GPU-based supercomputer, as opposed to, in the earlier case, a CPU-based supercomputer. Let's say in the future, if Google is selling those TPUs to a whole bunch of people, I can see universities building supercomputers based on TPUs, and people like me who do research will be using those supercomputers to do some other massively parallel stuff. A couple of final thoughts. I just don't know how many people will be really interested in this topic, but I think there are enough people out there who want to learn new stuff and then improve upon them and make themselves more current and more marketable, and also challenge themselves. If I perked your interest about parallel computing, or what are the differences between CPU, GPU, TPU, and what is there more to learn about it and drive you towards that, my job is done. Thank you.